In the Caves and Cliffs Part 1 update of Minecraft, moss was added and I've seen tons of awesome farm designs using it. My personal favorite is designed by Works, but his outputs bone meal. I'm going to show you how I modified it in my hardcore world to output 9,000 moss blocks per hour and how you could modify it to get all 4 types of moss items. In the Caves and Cliffs Part 1 update of Minecraft, moss was added and I've seen tons of awesome farm designs using it. My personal favorite is by Works, but his outputs bone meal. I'm going to show you how I modified it in my hardcore world to output 9,000 moss blocks an hour and how you can get it to output all 4 types of moss items from it. In my hardcore world, I built this moss farm in my spawn chunk so it'll run whenever I'm playing. This farm has a design where it'll fill up however many chests you set up underneath it, and it'll turn itself off to reduce lag once they're full, making it so whenever you need moss, you could run to the spawn chunks, take out what you need, and it'll top itself back up afterwards. So if you're just here for the tutorial part, skip to the time on screen, and you can go ahead and see how you build it. But first, we're going to explain it. So right here, when you spawn in, you get the platform telling you this is the one in the hardcore world. This is a single module of it. These are the materials involved, so take your screenshots or pause or whatever to take a look. So this is what a single one of the modules that I have modified looks like. It works and functions exactly how Ray's designed, so you can check him out for the actual functionality of how moss is produced. All right, so my only modification is when items go down and go up, what happens here is there's 2 separate hoppers. When items come up from down there, as you can see, they can go into one of 2 hoppers. There's this hopper here, which is currently locked by that repeater, and it's letting items flow through to the second one. So the way this works is if this hopper picks up an item, it'll actually flow around and there's a moss item filter and that'll pull it out, but everything else will make its way over to the barrel so that the flowering azalea, carpets, all that stuff will make it in here into the composter and be turned into bone meal. But without any moss blocks coming in, it actually can't sustain itself. So we have this comparator to detect if it's low, and as you can see, it is low. We don't have enough signal strength to turn on this repeater. So it is therefore letting this torch power these repeaters, which is locking this block, which is locking this hopper. And it's gonna let everything bypass this hopper, and everything goes into this hopper here, including the moss blocks, which just are skipping into here and making their way into the barrel. So it's bypassing the filter. And now you can see the level went up and it's being picked up over here. Let's wait for the next harvest. Next harvest is coming in, and they're actually getting picked up by this hopper now, and that means that the items are going to go over the moss block filter, and only the non-moss block items are going to go through. So it's actually fully self-sustaining and outputs moss blocks. So if you didn't want moss blocks from this and you wanted a different item, let's say you really need azalea bushes or flowering azalea bushes, right? All you have to do is change out this hopper. So if you change out this hopper to have 41 azalea bushes, or you could just put 1 azalea bush in and then it'll top itself up, then you can get those as the output. I currently have in this farm to where all of them output moss blocks like I showed you, and the moss blocks all get aggregated together down at the bottom, producing 9,000 per hour. But a modification that I plan on making in the future, because my moss needs aren't as high anymore, is maybe the top one will make moss blocks, and then the second one, that could make flowering azalea, then the third one could make azalea, and the fourth one could make moss carpets. Okay, I have basically the exact farm that you would get from Ray's tutorial. So if you go to Ray's video, get his world download and build it off of that, or if you already have this from him, then you're good to go and you can take it from here. So my hotbar has probably all the different types of items that you would need to be able to convert this into a module like that. So let's take a look and see how we would go about doing that. All right, first we're gonna wanna block up this water. Once that's gone, we can actually get rid of all of this glass here. And we would want to take away that hopper, the chest full of items, and the hoppers pointing into them for now, and the composter. Once you're left with this, it's gonna look real bare bones and you're gonna think you broke it. Trust me, we can fix it. First, let's take some glass and just push this back by one, and we can get rid of that too. And then we will get rid of these two pieces of glass. Then we'll come over here and put a barrel on top of that hopper and run a line of 3 hoppers pointing into that barrel. We'll then run a hopper sideways into that. Then we need to take this back 3 more, run a hopper sideways into it, and then 2 hoppers to that corner. This is where we're going to build our item filter. But first, let's set up the water channel path. So we need to block off this, 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 and this. Then you can open up the water and let it flow, and you'll see that it goes across both of these, which is exactly what we want. So this corner is going to get our item filter. Let's see if we can build that by going down. Let's just take it down 3 for now, and we'll bring out white concrete or any solid block and do the standard item filter shape. 3 at the top and then a little U or a V underneath. We'll throw a comparator down facing away from that, and we'll grab some redstone doots and run it like that. We need a throw those away, repeater. Plunk it down right there, and a torch right there. This I placed the wrong direction. You're going to want to break it and point it in towards the comparator. You're going to also want to make sure that this is pointing sideways into the block is easiest. Then this one is your output, so you can put any kind of container you want underneath it. I'm just going to throw a barrel down for now, but just like how I have it over in that section that you saw, you could run this to 100 chests and you'll be good to go. We will expand this in a minute, and I will show you how to connect it to turn the farm on and off. Next, you're going to want to get some slabs and run it from over here to over there. So the exact path doesn't matter if you vary it by a block or 2, but this has to go around and not connect with the redstone anywhere else. So, you know, I take this wide path and you bring it until it's in line with the redstone here, the observer. Bring it in until it actually goes up to this block, and this block needs to be a solid block. So for a minute again, I'm going to block off the water. We're going to replace that. It's going to trigger the farm. Don't worry, the farm is meant to run. And then we can open it back up again. I totally forgot to mention that we need to put in some filter items here. So you put in 4 items. I name them so you know you'll never accidentally get the item, and then you throw away the rest so it can never accidentally show up there. And you put in the item you want. So we're gonna put in some moss blocks. You can put in a whole stack, or you can put in just 1, and it'll slowly accumulate. And you should see that it drains itself until it gets down to 41. Perfect, it stopped. Back to our loop that goes around. First thing we're gonna need is a comparator out of this, then a solid block. Then we're gonna need some dust, and I ran this out 7 blocks, and then I placed a repeater. I just found this was a good level to have the barrel topped up to. And then we continue it on all the way to the corner. At the corner, we need a solid block and a redstone torch, followed by 2 repeaters. This is so they don't interfere with the hoppers, because if we had dust, it could lock some of the hoppers that we don't want to lock. Lastly, if you're anything like me and you're building these in your spawn chunks and you care about lag in your game, you're going to want to cover up all of the exposed hoppers with composters. This actually helps a lot with lag in the game. And I'm even going to go as far as to block off this water again and replace the glass that goes over top of hoppers with composters, and we can let it flow again. Okay, and that's a completed module that will run, and you can take this storage to wherever you want. But let's say you want more storage than this, and you build yourself a whole room of storage, okay? We'll simulate that like this, and boom, we have some storage. Now, this isn't as big as you could go. You could obviously add more columns by expanding this out and putting more horizontally, or by putting more vertically and having more hoppers pointed in the back. The important part is actually right here where we load into the very first column. So the rest can expand on indefinitely however much you want. But if you come here and you're going to want to pull from this hopper here a comparator. What this is going to do is this is going to detect when there is items in this hopper. Obviously, when items are flowing through the system, they're moving through one at a time and just flashing in. It's not enough to trigger the comparator. But when a whole slew of items get put in at once, meaning that the hopper underneath and to the side are both filled up, that comparator will turn on. That's going to be our signal to turn off the farm because it knows it's full. So to signal the farm that it's off, what we need to do is actually power this block here. Or that one. Because this is easier for me, I'm going to connect this redstone to this side, but if it's easier for you, you could connect it to this side where I just have a lever placed. What you need to do is run it out a few blocks, and then you can build up a staircase of blocks to get to the top. And I'm going to remove any excess. It's important that you have the 2 blocks up here level with it, because when we bring this across, this needs to be a repeater, because you don't want this to be able to power the redstone and with turning itself off for any reason unexpectedly. Now you can see when items are flowing through, it doesn't trigger anything, but if we have a full comparator, that signal will reach up to here and turn this on. Obviously, if your run is longer, you might need an extra repeater sooner, or if you want to turn it off as soon as there's 4 items in here, maybe you could put it much closer. But instead, we're just gonna let it go the entire route and turn it off. And there you have it. That is how you convert one of RaiseWorks' modules of Moss Farm into outputting moss blocks instead of bone meal. And not only that, you can get it to any item you want in this filter, any of the items that moss make. You could build multiple of these side by side, or one on top the other like I did, to farm all of it. Or you can stack 4 on top of each other and get up to 9,000 per hour, which is the speed of hoppers. So we get the output of 3 farms to the side of this dropper and the output of this 4th farm through the top. But 3 is not enough to keep this dropper flowing 100%. 4 is too much. So we pull a comparator out of the side, and it actually goes down here and powers it just the same to where it will turn this off, just the bottom module, while the top 3 stay running, so that items here can drain out, and once they're drained out, the farm will turn back on and top up that dropper again. So you'll always be getting items through here at the speed of hoppers, which is 9,000 blocks per hour. So the world download is in the description, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you like my content. I do stream my hardcore world that I made this farm on twitch.tv/Colonel. I'm live 6 nights a week, and I also make videos on TikTok if you're interested there. But thank you guys for watching, and tune in next Monday for the next weekly recap of the hardcore world. Can't wait to see you. Peace out.